You've reached Monster 911, and I'm Lance Hightower. I've been taking cryptid emergency calls for over 5 years. If you have a cryptid emergency, please call our toll-free number, 866-306-8085. I can help you. What's your emergency? Hello and welcome back all to another episode of Monster 911, one of YouTube's most terrifying true encounter story channels, dedicated in giving assistance to those who need to cope with what they've seen, a living, breathing creature. I interview behind the mic, I investigate and interview in the field, and I stay alone at night at the very locations of these sightings. My name is Lance Hightower, the host of this podcast show and the primary investigator for Monster 911. I'm truly honored that I've been able to meet and help well over 1,000 eyewitnesses since 2017 with their real creature encounters. Many of these eyewitnesses would suffer in silence, not telling a soul what it was they saw. But my mission is to help these good folks through their fears and anxiety by walking them through the events that transpired. I call it talk therapy, and it works, guys. So if you know someone that has been frightened by something they couldn't explain, they don't want to talk about it, it's the unimaginable, have them call me. They can call our toll-free number any time, day or night, weekday, weekend, it doesn't matter to me, at 1-866-306-8085. All names will be kept confidential, and your report will be treated with sensitivity and respect. So, can you guys do me a favor? Can you go over to the website at www.monster911.com and give me any suggestions as to what you'd like, what you don't like, and what you would like the website to do for you? I'm all ears, and while you're at it, be sure to visit the website online store. We have some really cool shirts there, and we have some merch that I think you'll really like that's coming. But if there's something there that we don't have, let me know. And also, be sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Spotify. Those links will be listed below. And you don't want to miss out on the shows, and we're going to be adding more content. We can see whoever's visiting which site, and so whatever sites we see the visited the most, we'll keep putting that content on there for you guys. Before we get into this next encounter story, please keep in mind, parents, once again, that you may want to use parental discretion with these shows of mine. Most of these encounter stories are honestly not for kids to hear. They sound like great campfire stories, but they are actually true encounter stories shared by everyday folks all across America. So please use some discretion there. So moving on now. This next show is quite horrifyingly scary, to say the least. You could say it's something right out of the movie Jeepers Creepers. For those of you who know what I'm talking about, it's quite terrifying. You've got that image in your head right now, don't you? We see all kinds and types of creatures made up in Hollywood movies, but nothing could have prepared this next guest for what he witnessed in the night skies of Upper Michigan. Take us back in your own way. There's no right or wrong. And if you share something that has a name in it, don't worry, I'll scrub it out. So take me back to that day, that moment, what happened, if you don't mind.
Yeah, no problem, man. So I was coming up, basically 69, and it's in Michigan, and I was going up towards the Upper Peninsula, and not the Upper Peninsula, but like towards the thumb. So like I had my last drop was to be for the donuts was at 12 o'clock. And, you have to do that to drop it in badass. I'll tell you badass. And I seen this thing fly across, and it had a wingspan. I'm like, what the heck is this, man? It's like a bird. And I'm like, why would a bird like that big be flying at this moment? And when it flew across my windshield, like I could see it, and it turned around and it had red eyes. And, I actually called my ex-wife before I interviewed with you. And she said around 2005, okay, because she was staying with her friends, and I called her up, and I pulled I pulled off the side. And I said, what the heck is this, man? And it just freaked me out, man, because, you know, and I even asked her today, I said, have we seen Jeep Creepers before this? Because it's exactly what it looked like, man.
Oh, man.
I mean, it turned around, and it looked at me with red eyes, dude.
So,
I mean, and then, go ahead.
I was going to say, so it's not reflecting light, it was emitting light. It was emitting some type of red light out of its eyes, is what you're saying.
Yes. It looked straight at me, man. And I'm like, what? And I even pulled off because my sister, and I'm not going to mention her name, but she had a clothing business, and she had a business that, you know, sold the JCPenney's at the time, and she's kind of, I'll be honest with you, man, she's kind of she gets into this, you know, stuff where she talks about, you know, like reptilians and stuff like that. So I'm like, but I called her up, man, and she said, yeah, you saw a demon. And I'm like, okay. I didn't know what to do, man. That's the first person I called when I pulled off. And, you know, I watched this thing fly away across the cornfield, man. And it was amazing, man, because, I mean, the wingspan must have been probably 10 foot.
Oh, jeez.
And I just, you know, and then after that happened, what I saw in the distance, man, I looked up in the sky, and what I saw in the distance was a green light shoot up and gone. So it's like, it had to be coinciding with what happened, because, you know, I don't know if it was an alien or what it was, but I'm telling you, man, I know what I saw. And, you know, I talked to my buddies after that, and they're like, we knew you did drugs in the back of the day, you know, and stuff like that. And I'm like, no, dude. I was totally sober. I was dropping off my donuts. I had nothing in me. And I, you know, for a long time, man, I just stopped, and I didn't want to tell nobody about it. Because, I mean, who's going to believe me anyways?
Well, and that's the part that's really hard. It really is, because if you think about it logically, okay, when people say, well, why didn't you call the police? Why didn't you? Well, wait a minute. You call the police, what are they going to ask? What kind of crime was committed? Are you bleeding? What kind of an emergency is this? Well, and you can't really answer that. So they're going to look at you, or at least they're going to raise their eyes, you know, behind the phone like, okay, sir, well, if you have an emergency, please give us another call. Thank you. You know, and they're going to hang up. So really, you can't call law enforcement, and in many ways, you don't want to. You definitely don't want to.
No, man, especially after I listened to your episodes about like the Ohio thing.
Oh, yeah.
That happened. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I just, you know, no way.
Yeah.
You know, and I've kept this inside myself for so long. It's just, you know, when I heard your, you know, your situation with like YouTube, and we've been listening, and I'm like, you know, I definitely need to tell my story, because I've seen so many things, man. It's not even just that one. And no, I'm not insane, dude.
No, I believe you. I believe you. There's a lot of credible, hardworking, sane individuals, and see, you're one of thousands, in my opinion, that we'll see this year before 2020 is done, honestly. And I always say that tonight, while we're talking right now, there's going to be hundreds of people across the U.S. that's going to have an encounter for the first time. They've maybe been skeptical, maybe not, whatever, and they're going to see it either in a road, in an alley, in the window, while they're dumping trash.
Yes.
They're going to see something that just is going to scare the living you-know-what out of them, and they don't know who to turn to. They don't know what to do, and in many cases, they're going to call the wrong people, and they're going to have the very wrong people knocking at their door, telling them to shut up. And
that is what I was worried about, man. That's why I don't, you know, my name is Dave. That's fine. We can get that out there, but what I'm worried about is that there is people out there, and I know that they have these, people that check up on this stuff. And, honestly, I'm okay with that. I just wonder what the heck this was. I mean, could it have been an experiment gone wrong? Could it, you know what I'm saying? Because it just really was weird, man. If I didn't see that thing look at me straight in my eyes, and I did, I put eye to eye on this thing.
Well, tell me, going back to that moment, I'm going to ask a couple of questions. When you saw it, about what time was it, and what time of the year, what season was it?
It was, so it was summertime.
Okay.
And, 2005, and I'm going to go with that because like I said, I wanted to get in the role. You know what I mean? I just wanted to make sure that I knew, what I was talking, because it's hard to remember sometimes.
Oh, it is. It is.
Especially when you go back that far. And it was definitely summertime. And, my wife at the time, my ex-wife, she was staying with some friends, and I called her immediately, man. It just, when this thing looked at me, it had red eyes, man. It was like red eyes, and it looked directly at me. And I asked her, I said, have we seen Jeepers Creepers before then? She's like, I don't think so. And I didn't think so either. So, I mean, that's all I could say is it looked like a Jeepers Creepers. It was weird.
Let me tell, for those that will listen to this, I'm going to say Jeepers Creepers, I think they made, one or two shows?
Three.
Three shows?
Yeah, 3.
And
Yep.
I've seen them. I can definitely remember the first one, and it freaked me out.
Yeah, it freaked me out too, man.
And the creators,
especially after this.
yeah, I can see why. The creators created this. It had 2 arms, 2 legs. It was human-like, but it had leathery, bat-like wings, had teeth like a vampire, and it had a face like a gargoyle, and it dressed in this very ratted, tatted type of jacket with a hat, and was highly intelligent and had a little bit of a cocky attitude, and it basically abducted people. So it was freaky of its day. Definitely, it was freaky. When you saw it,
to look straight at me, man. I mean, that's cocky right there, right?
Yeah.
To be able to just look directly at you and be like,
So how close was it when it saw you? When you guys are looking eye to eye?
I'm telling you right now, man, it was like right across the front of my windshield. And the thing that gets me, man, yes, I was freaked out, but then it just flew off in the distance. And when I looked over there, man, the wingspan, like I told you, was like 10 foot, dude. I mean, it just kept on flying. And I'm like, what in the heck did I just see? And I pulled off, and I immediately called my sister because I know that she believes in that stuff. And she said something, I think it was like a lichen, or I don't know what she said. But, I mean, she's into that stuff. But, I mean, here's the thing, dude. I never expected to see anything like this, man. And, for me to see that and then, talk to people about it, it's, like, weird. I kept it under wraps come on, man, 2005 until now.
Yeah, well, I can see why, because it's so surreal to even talk about it. Even someone, I mean, you and I, if you would have asked me, 5 years ago, would I be having these conversations with people, I wouldn't have believed you in a million years. I wouldn't have.
Right, man.
I wouldn't have believed you had I not had our own experiences. So tell me this. When you saw it, it was across the windshield. It was summertime, 2005, or somewhere in that neighborhood. It flew across. As it flew across, it must have been slow enough in going across that you saw that it locked eyes with you.
That's what's weird, yes.
So
yes,
tell me,
it was slow enough.
So tell me what its face and the rest of its body look like, if you can?
Okay, so basically, when I saw that face, it looked like a human face, sort of, but like a distorted, like, not like, I mean, it was round, okay? And all I could say is, like, Jeepers Creepers. Man, it was like, it was weird. I didn't see any fangs or anything like that because I didn't look at it that you know what I mean? I didn't have time to see it that fast. So basically, when it turned around, though, and it was weird because, I mean, like you say, it was like slow motion like that. But then when I looked off in the distance, man, that's what really got me, man. When I looked off in the distance, it was floating in the air and just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
did the wings,
so
when you saw
weird.
it, was it like, as it was flapping its wings, or was it gliding? Was it like flap?
No, it was flapping the wings, man. It was flapping. Like, I mean, seriously, like flapping across the distance, like across. I mean, we have so much in the Midwest, man. Like, I'm living in Ohio now, and there's so many cornfields and everything like that. Okay.
Okay.
So, you know, in the thumb, you understand, there's a lot of farmland as well, a lot of deer. Okay. And it's just, by the way, the thumb is amazing. I mean, I've seen so many deer out there. It's crazy how many deer that, you know, get out there. It's like, gosh, I don't know, maybe like 20 to 30 at a time, man. So it's like, you know, the reason I'm putting that out there is because I've been in the thumb. I drill. I used to drill for a living. I used to do environmental work. And, you know, I'm a scientist, sort of. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So, you know, with that being, too, with credibility, man, I just want to tell you, man, I've been around these areas, and I've never seen anything like this, man. But when it flew across that field, dude, it was like flapping its wings, and it was all of 10 foot across. I will tell you the truth, 10 foot across, and just flapping its wings and going that way, and it disappeared, which I was very glad, because I'm pretty sure this thing, I don't even know what it would have done, but I'm glad it was gone.
Yeah, no kidding. Did you have your door open? Some of those trucks have their side doors open.
No, man, no, nope.
When it went across, so when you first saw it, it was about what time again?
It was probably around 11:30. I had to drop my donuts off at 12.
Okay.
And you know, I had to go up to Bad Axe. So it was, you know, Bad Axe, Michigan, up, you know, nearly up to the top of the thumb. And you know, you got to drop your donuts off there so they can get their, you know, donuts in the morning, obviously. Right. But the other thing is, man, like I told you, man, I looked off in the distance, and there was this, like, green light just went, poof, poof, gone. So, I mean, I'm almost wondering, was it an alien?
Well, you know, I don't know. In many ways, it's not the same creature that you're speaking of, but I look at it like this. There was a guy that I just spoke to maybe a couple months ago, and he was talking to me about a Bigfoot that he encountered. But on top of that, he said, well, I know what you're going to say. I don't care what you say. I'm going to tell you what else happened during the next day. And I said, okay. So he shot at a deer with a bow, and he realizes he's not the best hunter, and he's okay with that. But he thought, you know, just for kicks, I'm going to see if I hit anything, because I may have, and I hate to leave a deer out there when I'm the one that shot it. I need to harvest it properly, so I'm going to go look for it. So he had his nephew with him, and he said, hey, let's spread apart about 5 yards, and it went down this trail, and he waited about an hour, and he goes, let's look for some blood sign. If we don't see anything, then I'll know I completely missed, and that's okay. So there, it's around noon. It's in the fall, and he's out east deer hunting. And again, he's just a novice. He says, and again, I'm okay with that. So they're walking down this trail, and he's kind of kicking leaves, looking around. His nephew's doing the same thing. And as he's walking on this wide open trail out in the woods, he kicks a little tiny bush. And he's not kicking it because there's something behind it. He's just kicking it to bring up some leaves to see if it'll show blood sign. And as he kicks it, something runs out from behind this bush and takes off to his right into the wood line. But between the time when he kicked it and where the wood line is, there's about 15 yards of open space. It's just leaves. And when he looked at it, it ran on all fours. And what he saw, what he told me, he said, "Lance, what I'm about to tell you next is the honest to God's truth." And I said, "Okay, what?" And he goes, "It was invisible. I could see."
What?
Yeah, he said, "I could see through it. I could make out that it was
unbelievable."
Yeah, he said, it must have been like hiding or something. And when I kicked the bush, it kind of scampered and went off, and you could see the leaves rustling, and as it hit the wood line, you could see the limbs just kind of shaking back and forth because something hit it.
Yeah.
And then he said to his nephew, he turned, he goes, "Did you see that? Did you see that?" And his nephew turned, he goes, I heard it, but I didn't see anything. And so he was kind of wanting confirmation that he saw the invisible thing too. And he said, "Lance, I could see the outline of it. I could see through it, and it had a very light green tint through its invisibility."
You wonder if that might have been a skinwalker, man.
Well,
there's a lot of that right there.
Well, that's what he was asking. He says, "Now you tell me what I saw." And I said, "Well, I can't say what it was you saw, but I will tell you that," he said, "it was about 3 to 4 feet tall on all fours." And he goes, "I could see the legs." And I said, "It sounds like to me very much something like out of the movie Predator." And he goes, "Yes, that's it. I can make up the image, but I could tell that there was on all fours, and I could see the outline of it. I could see through it, and that it was a light green tint. I could see the leaves through it on the other side of the ground, and then it just ran." And he goes, "What do you think?" And I said, "Well, that I'm aware of on this planet that has that much something touching physical, the ground, it running, it hit the limbs, I'm going to say it's probably extraterrestrial by nature. I don't know anything else." He said, "I've never told anybody. That's the second part that I don't know if I was going to tell you or not, but man, I'm telling you, I saw it. I saw it. And even though my nephew did not see it, he heard it. He heard it." And he goes, I freaked out. I haven't gone back since."
I want to tell you something, man. I really didn't think that I wanted to share this because honestly, I seen one experience, but there was another one. And if you're okay with me sharing that.
Oh yeah, please.
Okay. And this is alien situation, man. Okay. So yes, I have dabbled in my youth with a few things, and it's not like that, man. I just going up 23 in Flint, Michigan, and to turn around on an exit, seeing something that you literally saw above you, floating like a city, man. And I turned around, I went back on the road, and it wasn't there anymore. And I'm like, seriously, I'm not telling you a fib, man. I'm telling you the truth. I turned around, and I'm like, what the heck, man? And it's not here anymore. And then when I saw the thing that I saw up in the thumb, I'm like, okay, is this all coming together? Is it the same thing? Is there a reason why I'm seeing this stuff? And I'm like, I don't know. But I saw this thing floating in my, in my vision, and it was huge.
Like a ship.
And I'm like, wow.
You're saying like a ship.
No, it wasn't. it was a ship, but I mean, it was huge, man. Lance, it was huge. And, you know, I had talked to my dad, too. And, like, back in the day, he had some experience, too.
Oh, really?
And I even talked to my mom today, and I told her that I was going to be on the show. And, you know, I heard that you're religious. I'm religious, too. You know, we believe in Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a good thing. But, you know, they experienced stuff back in the day, and she's like, well, I think it was, you know, something else. You know, and it's the same thing over and over. Everybody doesn't want to say exactly what they really believe.
Well, because they're trying to head off the pass of already ridicule, and I don't blame them. I don't blame them at all. You know, generations have very interesting beliefs. Your parents, my parents, their parents before that, and even our ancestors way before that. Is that?
Man, I love Jesus Christ too, man. Seriously, I mean, I'm a strong believer.
Absolutely, and you know the way I look at this is that some people have asked me, well, if you've seen these UFOs and you start believing that there's other type of civilizations, does that shake your faith? And I absolutely not. It absolutely doesn't. If anything, it confirms it. It confirms that this universe that God made is so much bigger and mysterious that our small minds, we cannot be smarter than the Creator who created us. And our small minds cannot conceive all of the vastness that He has created. Now,
it's unbelievable.
You know, maybe when we all get to heaven, we can ask these questions. I have a million of them.
But what was this demon that flew? I want to call it a demon, man.
Well, it's kind of hard to say, man, because if I say either way, to answer it, it is almost a no-win situation because it means I'm judgmental. You know what I'm saying? So if I say that it's of this planet that's been here a long time, then I'm already biased against something that could be extraterrestrial and vice versa. So I'm
sorry for that, man.
So either way, could it be something that's been on this earth a long time and then something is observing these creatures and they're having...
Why doesn't anybody see these things? You know what I'm saying?
They do.
So in other words, this big creature that I knew that I saw, okay, there is no doubt in my mind that I saw this, okay, and then I watched it fly across that pasture, okay, and, you know, right across my windshield, and then watched it fly like that. And it's like, why hasn't anybody else seen this?
Hey, I'm telling you right now, people have. Someone out there has seen it, and more than someone, a lot of someones have seen it. But the thing of it is that you're going to, out of dozens of people that will see, you'll have one possibly have enough courage, maybe 1 out of 100, 1 out of 50. I don't know what that ratio is, but you're going to have one that has such a burning desire. They don't care if they're ridiculed. They don't care. They've got to trust someone to share this, to say, what the hell did I see? Does anyone, can someone help me? Because a lot of people are going to say, I know what I saw. I'm not questioning that. I'm not questioning, but I don't want the ridicule. I don't want anybody to point the finger.
Lance, there's so many honest people out there, man. There's honest people all over in that phone, man. I mean, you know, I see them riding at night. Even when I was going up there to deliver donuts, there's honest people, and they drive. Don't tell me they haven't seen this stuff.
They have, but see, that's a whole nother subject, talking about the Amish, because I was doing.
And by the way, great people, right?
Oh yeah, they're honest, and I know some myself. So the thing of it is that their belief, their culture is that they really don't call. You know, they don't have some of them have cell phones, but they don't use it in communication. They're told by their elders that they cannot. You know, each group can do certain things that maybe others can't do. Pennsylvania versus Michigan versus Virginia versus Oklahoma. So That's what I mean. You're going to have literally hundreds, if not thousands, of people have encounters, and either because their beliefs, faith beliefs, personal beliefs, they're not going to share what happened. They're going to be told, keep it to yourself within certain circles, whether it's in their faith, their church, a group, a family unit, a bunch of brothers. I did an interview of a guy who was in a security position, high security surveillance position, and he was doing security for a very high up official. And he was responsible for setting the perimeter around this brand new house of this official. All the security, all the cameras, everything. No expense was spared. Top of the line. And part of that security was seeing who lived in the area. Well, in the area, there was the Amish. And they'd been there for years. And during this time when they were setting up this new home and the new perimeter fence, they were coming in contact and seeing these Dogman type creatures. And it was freaking him out, him and his buddies. Now, they had very high level, high powered, automatic type of weapons. So they weren't not too concerned about it, but that due to the size and speed of these things, it was kind of freaking them out. And so,
always fast, right?
Yes.
Those things are like fast.
They were fast and massive creatures.
Wow.
And at the same time...
So in a pack? You think a pack mentality? Do you think that these things run in packs?
Yeah, absolutely. I do believe, because they're more of a... They're canine, man. But what's really interesting is this guy, head of security, went in the late afternoon to knock on the doors just to ask questions about these creatures to some of the local Amish. As he knocked on the door, he could see through their little curtain shade that they had. You could see right through it. It was sheer. They would not answer the door. And he would literally bang on the door, just about knocking it down. And he was upset, like, come to the door. He was yelling. So they never did. And they were just like, they didn't hear anything when he could see that obviously they could hear it. So the next day, during the daytime, he went and he knocked on the door, and they came to the door, and they go, oh, hello, and he goes, well, my name is so-and-so. I'm in a security capacity so many miles this way. I'm just coming to know, what do you know? How long have you lived here? Blah, blah, blah. And then he said, what do you know about these creatures around? And then they would get quiet. And they go, well, long story short, they come around in the evening and late at night. They try to open up doors and windows. We try to get along with them. We don't shoot at them. They've been around here.
They literally were living with these things?
Well, they were in the area. They knew about it.
Like a normal thing?
Yes, they knew about them. And one lady...
Wow, man.
One lady that was in the garden as he came up to, introduce himself, she was in the garden on her knees doing some planting or harvesting. And she said that she sees them all the time during the day just walking by bipedal.
But you would think they would attack them. You know what I'm saying? I mean, these things are vicious.
I come to find out he started questioning more and more of these, and it was almost a symbiotic relationship where these Amish were almost sacrificing some of their livestock every so months to appease these creatures.
Kidding.
Yes. And so
that makes sense. That's a little bit weird, but I mean, at the same time, that makes sense.
So he was kind of like, what? And they said, oh yeah, they'll walk by and we'll see them during the day. And, I see the big dogs, and this lady had like names for them, and he thought she was kind of cuckoo. But my point is that,
like, I'm cuckoo for seeing what I saw.
No. He didn't know.
No,
he didn't
really,
know.
honestly.
Well, he was like, these things are terrifying, and you got names for them. So that's what he meant by cuckoo in a way, without really saying it. And
I see what you're saying.
He was like, what? So they've known about these creatures for years in the area, but see, you don't tell anybody because you don't want anybody coming in, asking questions, throwing a red flag.
Yeah.
So again, my point in bringing all that up is that I think personally that you have thousands of people, you'll have hundreds, in my opinion, tonight, all across the United States, have an experience they can't explain. It's terrifying, it's horrific, and it's going to cause some severe anxiety, if not stress, to a level of post-traumatic stress that in their lives. And
it's tough.
PTSD
it's tough,
is more than just an emotional trauma. It affects your personal, your work, your relationships, everything. When it's when it's full
Lance,
blown.
when I seen this thing flying across, man, I literally I pulled off to the side, and called my sister. Like, I mean, that's my family member, man. I didn't call my wife immediately. I called my sister because that was the first thing I thought, because I know that she's talked about certain things, but I could not believe my eyes, man. I mean, this, like I tell you, it's like, okay, the first thought that came through my mind is, why is a bird at 11:30 p.m. flying? Okay, and I'm thinking, like, okay, why is this big, like basically like a sand crane or something like that? I'm like, I've never seen this before. And then when I saw it look at me, I'm like, oh. And this thing was it was like a reptilian type of deal.
Oh, really?
Red eyes, but the head was, I'm telling you, I had not seen Jeepers Creepers before this happened. I watched it later, and I'm like, whoa, that was kind of like what it looked like. It was like a demon, dude. It was weird, man. The eyes were red. The head was kind of small, actually. And when I watched it fly away, like I told you, it's going to be like repetition, but I'm telling you, the wingspan was amazing. I've never seen anything like this in my life. And all I could think of, like I said, after I seen this, and I saw Jeepers Creepers, it was all that. Same doggone thing.
Could you see that the legs were trailing back? Did it have legs like a man?
I'd be lying to you if I said I saw the legs. I didn't. I just wasn't. It's like when you see something like that, man, you're like so creeped out.
Right.
You don't sit there and like stare at it.
Well, you're looking at it.
I stared at it flying away, but I mean, I was like ready to get the hell out of there.
Yeah. Well, it's like many of the people, they said, Lance, look, man, I was staring at it, but I wasn't staring at it. And I'll go, well, what do you mean? They go, well, I'm looking at this thing, but I'm only looking at one or two features. I'm not looking at details of the whole thing. I'm just staring I'm staring either at the eyes, the wings, the head, and I'm sitting there trying to say, what am I looking at here? This is not normal.
And here's the funny thing, Lance. I pulled over to call my sister. Okay? Look, I mean, seriously, I mean, maybe I shouldn't have pulled over, but I'm like, are you serious? Did I just see what I saw? I have no explanation for this.
Well,
and that's when I saw the light shoot up in the air.
So it was light enough as it was flying over. This was at night.
No, it was night. But what I'm saying is, I could, you can look off in the distance anywhere, and you can see the silhouette of something flying away. Okay.
Okay.
So I saw that, and then I looked up in the distance, okay, towards the north, and I saw that green light go boom, 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 gone. And I'm thinking to myself, why would it? I mean, it's almost like it did. Okay, so I see a creature flying away this way, and then I also see a UFO. What?
Yeah. Well, that's
There's
one thing.
There's no explanation.
Well, in a lot of these, I shouldn't say a lot, in quite a few of the interviews that I've done since 2017, there have been some interviews in which a person will have an encounter of some creature, and then shortly after, or even prior to that, will have mysterious lights floating in the woods, different colored lights in the woods, a ship that goes over the tree line, something that like lands off in the tree line, or something that takes off with no sound. So that's happened more than once. So some people could say, therefore, is this extraterrestrial? There is a high likelihood of that. I mean, it just kind of, if you add it all up.
There is. Yes.
You know, what exactly is going on, that'll be, you and I will guess forever on that one.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah,
we just don't know, because it does. I mean, if you logically look at this, you can go, man, this is not of this planet. And it was beamed right back up. It was let out possibly, and to kind of look around, do its thing, who knows. And then, however, days, weeks, hours, and then all of a sudden, it beam me up, Scotty, it goes back. And that's possible. That's possible if you look at all possibilities.
And Lance, you know very well, man, with our belief, okay, and you can cut this out or you're not, I don't care. But I mean, you know, with my belief, man, I was speaking in tongues and rebuking it.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you were. I mean,
I was.
That's the thing that, you know, that comes across too. A lot of people will say, you know, Lance, Christian, they'll just say, man, I just, you know, said the name of Jesus out loud and I rebuked it.
Yes.
And a lot of people that hear this that aren't, or they're going to go, oh, great, you brought the Jesus thing into it. But let me tell you, there is more. I haven't heard an account yet, and this is something that's very interesting that no one's really asked me, because when I hear a lot of these interviews, over time, I have a unique privilege to build a profile of what's going on from many different encounters and accounts.
Yes.
So what's really interesting is every person that has told me that they saw a creature and that they were honest enough and forward enough to say, I rebuked it in the name of Jesus, I haven't, almost all of the accounts that they've said that, the creature has left them alone.
Definitely.
Or just left. Not disappeared necessarily.
That's why it flew off, man. I'm telling you right now. It was looking straight at me in the windshield, and I started rebuking in Jesus' name, and I started speaking in tongues, and it took off, dude. It took off because, I mean, that's what I've been taught as a child. You know, my mom was in the Women's Aglow, and she actually, you know, she went on the streets to, you know, minister to prostitutes and stuff, and she's always taught me the name of Jesus is marvelous. I mean, you know, nothing can stand against that. So I knew at that point to say Jesus, and I do. And, you know, I did. It's sure enough, it took off, man, because I'm telling you, man, I was freaked out when it looked at me, but at the same time, the God in me, the God that I know is inside me, is bigger than that thing.
Oh, so. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I wish I could give you just a instant, clear answer on what it was you saw, but, you know, it's somewhere of what I know. It's, you know, I'll back up. There's, I'll tell you another interview that I did that was really quite bizarre, and I hadn't heard anything like this, and this guy was very, very honest, and he just said, listen, I know what this is going to sound like, but I'm still going to tell you, whether you believe me or not, I really don't care. I'm just going to get this off my chest. And I said, okay, that's no problem, man. Tell me. He was deer hunting. He was in the Northeast, I believe, and he was deer hunting in the fall, and there was a mountain not too far from his house, and there's a railroad track that bypasses under this mountain a little bit. So he was done deer hunting for the day, and he was just walking on this railroad track. And there's no train on it. It just, every once in a while you get a train. He was walking, and he had heard some weird sounds prior to this, you know, during the deer hunt. As he would walk the railroad tracks, and he heard some stories of people saying, yeah, they saw something weird up there, blah, blah, blah. And he's kind of like, they're shrooming or something up there.
Yeah.
And so he just kind of blew it off. You know, he had never really seen anything over the years as a deer hunter. So he's walking back to the house, and he's walking on the railroad track, and he just so happened, as he was passing near this mountain, he's on the railroad track, and he's walking on each railroad tie. As he looks to his right, he glances down kind of in this the railroad tracks typically sit higher than the ditch, and the ditches can look so many different ways. But this ditch actually flattened out. It went down a ways, 4 or 5 feet, and then it just kind of opened up, and then it just kind of flattened out. And what he saw to about 20 yards, 15, 20 yards, he saw this figure, this beast-looking creature sitting on its butt, and its legs were spread out. It was like sitting on its butt. Its legs were kind of spread, and it had a deer hide in its lap, and it was like it had its left arm underneath the deer hide, and its right hand. It was doing something. It was like picking at it or something, and it was kind of its back wasn't totally to him. It was kind of at a little bit of an angle, so he could see a little bit of the profile. He could see this back that was just huge, and it came down to the small waist. And he noticed that under the arms had like this flap of skin, like a wing. But so he saw this and he was like, "What the?" And so he started backing up slowly. He was trying to go forward. He was trying to say, "What do I do? Do I go back? No, I need to go home." So he kept his eye on this and trying to go backwards. Well, he kind of jilted some rocks. And this thing turned just abruptly a little bit. Didn't look at him, but cocked its head a couple more inches to the left. So he could get a good profile now. It didn't look at him, but when it turned and cocked its head, it kind of looked like it could see him in a profile, like in the peripheral vision. Its eyes, he said, it shot out these beams of light, like boom.
What?
Yep. He said it shot out, and he said, "I know what it's going to sound like, but I'm still going to tell you." It shot out these beams like boom, and then it just stopped, and then it stopped, and then it kind of snarled, lifted up its left lip a little bit, kind of snarled, and then went right back to doing what it was doing. And he just like freaked. Like he just like he was just stunned. He's like, move, get out of there.
I would have shit myself, man.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah. And so not only was the seeing of this thing freaking him out, it was the lights that came out of its eyes that it instantly like just turned them on and then just stopped.
That's why I think sometimes, Sasquatches, honestly, you have not found any Sasquatches that, maybe they bury their own. I'm not sure.
I'm sure they do.
But
I'm almost certain they do.
I'm pretty sure, too.
I'm certain
pretty sure, too. And there's too much information from the Indians, like the Indian local tribes that talk about these things, that they definitely exist, man. And it's like, you think about the mass majority, so much forest, man. You can't, let me bring up this subject here, okay? So the silverback apes, like the silverback gorillas, okay, they didn't think that they existed for a long time. They finally found them, okay? And they're in Africa. And, what does this say that, we have not found the Sasquatch yet? Because they do definitely bury their own, okay, and I believe that 100%. And my buddy, he actually believes they're aliens. But I don't know about that, man. But there's so much forest, man. You don't have time in a day to totally trap the whole forest. So, they're really good at eluding people, and I believe they exist. I really do.
Well, I know they exist because we have seen, and
you saw.
Yes,
you saw one.
My brother Lane did, and I believe I did when I was about 10. So, and Lane and Bill, my other brothers, saw something again when we lived out at the park. And here's the thing: you're dealing with something, and there's a lot of arguments. When you're listening to these shows. Well, if these things existed, how come we haven't found a body, blah, blah, blah. And I believe people actually have. I believe people have actually taken very good video and good still pictures of these things. But I'm going to say that it's, first of all, very hard to discern hoax from factual on the YouTube.
Yes.
That's the hardest thing. I'm going to say probably the 80-20 rule probably applies here, where 80% are hoax, made up, false.
Lance, I believe that first video that was taken, honestly, I think it was a hoax. I really do. Just the way it was, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I mean, the first video that was taken when they had that Sasquatch walking, it just, I don't know, man.
Oh, you're talking about back in 57, Pine Bluff?
Yes, man. I believe that's a hoax 100%, man. But I know that there's Sasquatches out there. There's got to be.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. And the thing of it is that I believe people have had very good video footage of these things. But again, I think that you have a lot of people that don't want to, what do you do with it? I think that a lot of people, when they think things through well enough, they realize that what they have is not going to make them $1 million like a lot of people think. It doesn't work that way. First of all, they're thinking, okay, who do I show this without being ridiculed? What do I have? So it's more of a burden that they have this footage than actually a benefit or a blessing in many ways. And so there's a really good book. I don't know if you've read it yet. It's called Enoch. Have you read that yet?
No.
Okay. No. You need to get that and read that and just share it between your buddies. I'm trying to remember the author. Gosh darn, it escapes me right now. I haven't had my coffee.
It just blows my mind, man. Some people, they want to make money off this stuff. It's not like that.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, when you experience something like that, there's other things out there. Like, I mean, I'm very spiritually attuned into stuff. And, as far as, like, ghosts and stuff, too. I mean, I'm a believer as far as, like, I think everything's demons like that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's just the way I believe. And it doesn't mean that other people have to believe that way. It's just, when I seen what I saw, there is no doubt in my mind that there's something out there, man.
Oh, yeah. And there's a lot of somethings out there.
It's haunting, too, man. It just... the way it looked at me, man, the way the eyes looked at me, it was evil. It was evil.
Did it give any type of a grin, or was it just looked at you and...
No, well, I didn't have a chance to see if there was a grin, because I pulled right off after, and then I saw it flying away, and I'm like, ugh. I'm like, are you serious? Did I see what I just saw? So
it was some type of flying creature that had enough intelligence to... Its size was very terrifying. Its wingspan was terrifying. It looked like a reptilian of some sort, and it had light-emitting eyes. And then, as it was flying in the distance, you could definitely see the size, the wingspan of this thing. And how fast was it? Was it a fast-flying creature here, or was it just kind of like...
Well, it's almost like it slowed down when it looked at me. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Just like, I mean, in front of me, it's almost like it slowed down. But then I watched it fly off in the distance. It was like slow motion, man.
Okay.
Just really weird. And, like you say, it was reptilian, but I could not see its legs. And I'm sure it had legs. I'm not going to say it didn't.
Right.
But I'm not going to tell you something that's not true.
Right.
Well,
I appreciate that.
Tell you,
yeah,
man. I'm not going to sit here and make up shit.
Yeah.
It was weird, man.
Then not only that, but the unexplainable, the lights that you saw. Man, I mean, that's the second wow factor here. That it's highly fascinating, because we're seeing something you've never seen, freaky, horrific, terrifying, and then on top of that, you've got these, you said, green lights just shoot like
yes
off in the distance. So that's
just looking up north. If anybody, like, obviously I'm going to say this. If anybody's listening to this, if you know the thumb, I'm going to tell you right now. You look north, and it was like towards basically where I was supposed to drop off my donuts, okay? and, Bad Axe. And you could see the light just shoot up and boom, gone. And it was at the same moment that I was watching this beast fly away. And I was so happy to see it fly away. I mean, like, it didn't stop and, jump on my truck, thank God. Dude, I wouldn't. I'm like, wow.
Yeah,
But when I rebuked it in Jesus' name, it was gone, dude. Because I know what to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I believe in Jesus that much, man, that I know He's going to take care of me.
Yeah.
So, there's no doubt in my mind that, God's going to take care of me. But, wow, it was just...
Well, Man, I tell you, I'm really thankful that you called us and you had enough courage to share this, because there's someone out there that's going to listen to this that's going to have something very similar, and they're going to go, man, that's me. That's me. I gotta share this. And the reason why we do this is so people can learn. People can learn what happened to someone else, and that I thought I was alone. I'm not, because this guy saw something in Michigan. And he sounds like I am, just a normal guy. And so that's what people want. And that's why it's so important. If a person is willing to have it retold in their own voice what happened, rather than a narration. Because
Lance, I kicked this around for a long time, man. And I said, should I do this or not? And then my buddy kind of laughed at me like, oh, yeah, all right. And I said, you know what? I definitely called, Yes, I had a few beers in me when I called. It took some courage. And I just, honestly, it's what you say. So there's a lot of people out there that see this stuff and they do not say anything.
No, they don't.
I wanted to be this one person.
And I'm thankful you did, and I'm thankful you called us. I appreciate the kind words, and listening to what we have to say. And, we're simple guys. We want to help the people, because by getting it off your chest, trying to divulge a little bit how to help some of these people, sometimes we give advice that we try to be common sense about. We're very careful about what we say. We don't want to say something we don't know. It's not like we know everything there is about everything that's out there, because trust me, there's a lot more than even what you and I can come up with.
Absolutely.
And what is it? I don't know, but I'm going to say I have heard. You said it earlier, talking about the silverback gorillas. There is so much ocean and so vast of a sky and so expanse of land that man has yet to even embark on discovering, that there's so much out there we don't know. There's so much out there we don't know yet. And you could say, well, where this is the 21st century, we got computers, we send people back to the moon and Mars, and yes, but there's still so much right here. This is an undiscovered planet with mystery. And a lot of people will say, okay, well, does that get into why this government agency wants to keep this subdued and suppressed? Yes, that's why. Because if people really, really knew what is out there, it would freak them out. If you knew... There is a, basically a government situation, and I listen to your shows, man, and I've heard where they will sit there and intimidate people not to talk, and that's why I didn't give my full name, and I know that. I know that. I mean, it's just, that's one of their jobs. That's
now,
it.
To basically debunk and make it look like it's not true. And I believe also, I'm going to tell you one thing right now, Lance, I believe that Hollywood is involved with this.
Well, it's awful interesting. You say that, and I've never really spoken about that on any show. Dave, we've come up with it, and we've kind of alluded to it a couple times, but never really come out with this statement. And that is, isn't it very interesting? And that's all I can really say is interesting, because I don't have any insider Hollywood intel, someone feeding me information.
Yes.
But isn't it very interesting how a lot of these creatures that we see on these horror science fiction movies
Yes.
And very interesting, whether it be the MIBs or government inside movies, how people later, these eyewitnesses, will say, hey man, it looked just like in the movie of blah, blah, blah. And it looked just like the show of the werewolf. And this thing looked just like Jeepers Creepers. You know, is there a coincidence or maybe not
I don't
coincidence?
think it's coincidence.
No.
Honestly, Lance, I think that they honestly, a lot of times, this stuff really does. I mean, how do you write that stuff anyways? Okay? So, you know, you see hand witness, and then they also want to cover it up so nobody talks about it. And it's like that one thing, like, I mean, in Indiana Jones, man, at the end, when they take the Ark of the Covenant and put it into a building, how many times has that been done?
Oh,
and I believe that, man.
Oh, probably
I really do.
Hundreds of times. Back in the day, the group that they actually send security was the Smithsonian. The Smithsonian Institute, in the early days when they would find skeletal remains and very odd, even type of biblical type of historical products, they would actually send security out there. Smithsonian had their own security, and they would collect these and box them and crate them and send them back.
Isn't that something?
And that was
yes.
That was the thing back in the day.
Dude, I appreciate you calling me back, man. And, you know, I was like really skeptical about, you know, calling about not skeptical, just you don't understand.
You know, I totally get it.
It's weird.
Trust me, I understand, man. I mean, you very selective on who you want to talk to about this stuff, because most people, I always say there's two parts to a story or an encounter story. The first part you have to get past in order for the second part to make sense, and that is the first part, the person has to acknowledge and understand that these creatures do exist. And then if you can get past that and they're open-minded or they've had their own experiences and they get it, now you can tell them what happened during your encounter.
Do you realize for a long time that I looked on my phone, on Google, looking for a flying creature in the phone?
Wow.
Nothing popped up.
Wow. There's not a lot. I've not heard of a lot yet from my end. I've got maybe one, but not a lot. It kind of reminds me of the Mothman creature in a way, that had red eyes and it flew. And it's on Netflix, I think, or Prime Amazon. It's a documentary, and I can't remember. Earlier on Enoch, it was Autumn Williams is the author. Autumn Williams, Enoch, and it's got a picture of a Bigfoot of what a gentleman described. That's going to be a very good book for you guys. Take care, man. I appreciate you. And let's keep in contact.
All right, man. We'll talk to you soon.
You betcha.
Thank you.
Bye.